So, Muscadine grapes. It's the choice for organic growers because you don't have to spray it. You do have to prune it, and there's a lot of pruning. And with hardy kiwi, fuzzy kiwi, and muscadine grapes, they're all pretty much the same. So what I'm saying will relate to those trees and plants also. And with a muscadine grape, I grew this out as one trunk, and as it came up, I wanted to have arms on it. This is called a niffin, a four-arm, K-N-I-F-F-I-N. Maybe it's named after a person, I'm not sure. But it's a system of growing grapes on a trellis, and it's just 4 wires. I do like to keep air movement under, so I try to bring the wire up to about 4 feet, and then it'll usually go down further, with the weight on it and all. Same with this one. I try to, bring the top one up to 6 feet. And then what happens with a muscadine grape is in nature they grow up trees and they spread way out. It takes them years and then they fruit. With me, I want to contain them. So all of their vegetative growth, this is new growth. This is 1-year-old growth. These are called spurs. And what I've done is over the summers, when this is growing, I keep pinching them back every 3 weeks or 4 weeks. I do the same thing with kiwi and the grapes. There's a kiwi right past these 2 grapes. But this is where I'm complete. I complete my. This is where I complete the idea of keeping about 4 inches. This has been cut once here, so we did get that cut, and this has been cut once here. So this actually, we spurred this pretty well, and the only thing I have to do now is to cut it back to about 4 inches again. And I want to. This is a little overcrowded in here, but if I go through it and I find like they kept a little bit too much, they cut that there, and that was great. Then this one should have been cut here, but I'm okay with it. It's going to fruit, and I'm going to cut that back. Well, that whole thing should fruit for me, only because I'm doing this spur pruning. If you do the spur pruning, I have people call me and they'll say, oh, I've had my hardy kiwis for 10 years and they still haven't fruited. And then I find out that they're not summer pruning, and if they do prune it, they do it in the winter and they cut all the fruit, all the vegetative growth off, and they don't get anything. So it'll happen over and over again. So I've got this here growing from here, again, 4 inches, that's all I want. Here, 4 inches. I don't even really look at them, I just do it. I mean, I'm not looking for an outward bud or anything. I'd be here all day. So I just prune them like that. This is coming from where? Way down here. Oh, it was from the other tree. I mean it was coming way over here. This is how I propagate. Muscadines are hard to propagate in the mist bed. So I took the branches, and there's probably about 30 feet of branch all wrapped around and stapled down under all this wood. So I'm hoping that every node will put out root this year. And if they do, I can dig that up at this time next year and have many, many plants. If you want to see, I did that last year to this plant, but it was younger and it didn't have as much growth. But if you go up in that greenhouse, look on the floor, there's a bucket of grapes. And this is called Southern Home. So with that, that's how I'm propagating that. So I don't know if you guys want to do that. Probably if you're having this plant, you would have just cut it here and spurred it. Whereas I let that stuff grow so that I could see if I could get more plants. So this is Carlos. It's the most popular of the, I see a spur I don't want at all because it's totally in the shade. So I'm taking that out. These underneath, if I take them out, what should happen is I'll still get grapes, but I'll leave some of these. This was cut once and then it came out again. So, and this is actually coming from spurs down here. And it has, come here. Okay, so that basically should be its own. This downward branching is not always good. So because the other stuff shades it. I could cut that off because I've got spurs that are coming here, and they'll get some sun, although this is coming. That's too long. Again, that's too long. So all this new growth, I want to cut back to 4. This would be fun to do if you had like 3 people pruning it, because then it wouldn't be such a job. I'm going to be out here for a good hour, right? And it may be more fun to just have somebody help me with this. I've also got this. This is like its own branch, and I don't need it because I have this branch here. You see it right here? All this new growth. Now I could take that and maybe lay it down. And it's going up here. So I may leave that for right now because I may take that and just bury it, and then I'll have more. But again, I haven't pruned this yet, so I'm not sure. One thing about it's meditative. You kind of make it up as you go along, and you see things, and when you see them, like, oh, that's going to be shaded, you get into it. So it takes a little while to get into it. But sometimes you have to be ruthless. Then sometimes you have to think of a long term. Like, I can't get all this done in 1 year. I need to do this over 3 years to make it the way I want it. That kind of thing. It's really good to be meditative about it. And then for some of us, with with all of the stresses that you may go through in one day, after dinner you're out there with your plant. It's meditative. Let's face it. It's not real heavy, hard work. You're just sort of thinking about somebody that just totally destroyed your life, but it's okay. I'm just pruning and I can deal with it. It looks like Dan, you gotta watch where you tie the grape. This was tied here. It doesn't need to be tied anymore, and I don't want it to girdle. So I'll take that off. And I'll probably put the twist tie here. So if I need it, it's available. I don't have to walk somewhere to go get it. The Concord grapes are different. They're more like the bunch grapes or the fox grape, and they get pruned totally different. You almost prune everything off, but you just leave fruiting arms. So let's go over to the Concord. This is so vigorous that I leave about 80 buds. Now when you count buds, you just count the joints. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. You just count the joints. If it was half as vigorous, I'd leave 40 buds. You don't want to, because it's just going to make your grape cluster smaller, and not as sweet and all that. Also, once all these, pretty much every one of these nodes will make a cluster. So there should be a cluster here, and if they're spaced far enough and they're easy to get to, when they bloomed and they're little pea-sized green grapes, I put a bag over them, because Concords and most of your seedless grapes, the ones you buy, they get certain diseases. Most of our vines don't get powdery mildew, and they don't get downy mildew. Most of your seedless grapes get both of those. Your vinifera grapes get those pretty much all the time. So most of your wineries around here have to spray a fungicide just about every 7 days. If they don't, usually the wine dies. It just can't, the disease is overtaken. So with that said, we don't have that many grape varieties that we sell, because we're looking for black rot resistance, which is it mummifies the fruit to a point where there's hard they look like raisins, but they're hard as rocks and there's no sugar, because the fungus has eaten all the sugar. So that fungus comes from rain coming down, splashing on the fungus on the leaf itself, lifting the fungus spores up and down on your grapes. So we bag all the grapes with sandwich bags that are made of wax paper. And you know yourself, we got a lot of Concords from here because you and your kids bagged them last year, right?
A lot of bagging, yeah.
Yeah, and you had a lot of Concords, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Bunching grapes that you need to bag, right?
Huh?
It's just the
bunching grapes that you bag?
Yeah, the Niagara, the Concord, the Mars seedless, we bag all those. The Muscadines, they don't get black, I guess because they're more native. What you're getting is the European influence. They're not used to our East Coast conditions. So that's why European grapes that like arid climates don't do so well in climates that get so much rain.
So when do you do that? When you put bags on?
As soon as you can.
Okay.
Because you're going to start noticing the black rot comes after a good rain with some heat. And so you're going to do it as soon as you can to protect it. In fact, sometimes if I don't have them bagged, I'll see a leaf and it has one of the spores. I'll cut the leaf off real quick. You know, not yet. Wait till I get it bagged. Then you can do that.
What do you do so the bag won't blow away? How do you attach it?
Two
staple it.
Two staples.
Staples. Okay.
Yeah. And what'll happen is the grape bunch will be here. There'll be one leaf that'll be coming out. I cut that leaf off because then I can flap the bag over this branch, and then the Concords, the grape clusters in there. And then I only pick if I have 200 set bunches on the plant. I only want 60 or 50 because then all the energy will go in them and they'll be big, beautiful, store-bought looking grapes. So I only leave that many. All right, and so the pruning of that.
So can
yeah.
I ask? So do you then physically remove the ones you don't want?
I do. I clip them off.
Yeah.
I just clip them off and let them drop. Let's go to a Niagara that hasn't been cut yet. So,
Yeah.
okay, so this is the Niagara. So here's the trunk. And what I want is whatever I can find that's close, that's 1-year-old wood that's close to the, I'm getting a nice one there. See this one? That's going to be probably my branch that goes this way. I'm going to take this branch, I'm going to select that there. And then I've got that branch that's 1-year-old. And that could go,
The one below it's 2 years, right?
yeah, and then again, I'm seeing a twist tie here that's really early. Usually when I do this, I give it a little bit more extra. I don't do it right up to the, because I know they're going to girdle. So this should have been tied differently. I got to get that out of there. All right, so she's gone. But do you see what it did to it?
Yeah.
It's still okay. It didn't girdle it to a point where it's going to break off. So what I might do here, I may get rid of this whole trunk and just use this as the trunk because I've got such nice growth really close to this one. Whereas this one's coming up, and this is 2-year-old here. Now that's a 1-year-old there. And it's pretty nice. It's one way over there. Who are you?
That's coming off of this.
Oh, that's the one. I want to keep that one. See, that again, that's why I want to probably keep that one. And I could put that one down. And I could keep this one here and keep this whole trunk. Again, I'm just going to have to decide. But what's going to happen, Niagara is not as vigorous as Concord. So I'm going to probably count 50 buds on this one. And so when I'm done, it's going to be like this one here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'll probably get about 20, 25 off of this one if I want, or 20. But if I'm going to do 4 arms, then I just have to figure it out. I have this one down here, but I don't know. Is that alive? Yeah, it's alive. And then you don't want to trellis up dead. So basically, if I look at that, it's dead. See, it's brown. 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 Green. See, it's green?
Yes.
Okay, so that's alive. So I may work with that. This one is green. So I'm good there. That one looks dead. Dead. So you don't want to trellis up a dead one.
I'll write that down.
Don't plant the dead one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we're not gonna do this today because we'd be here for a while. This one, you know, it's gonna take me 45 minutes probably to shape it and to twist, tie it up, and to get it the way I want it. But you know, it'll happen.
So that one you talked about that you said you might keep, it goes all the way over to that other.
It sure does. Look at this guy.
Where would you trim it?
Well, I definitely don't want him in there.
Right?
So now I can make my decision.
Okay.
You know, he's not going that far. I don't want him in there. This is a really good black muscadine called Delicious. And yeah, when that's ripe, we need a lot of plants of this one. When it's ripe, it's like everybody wants one. It's a good one. Oh, if you want to root grapes, joint to joint like that in perlite, bam, you got a grape. See that? That's
Straight
all you got to
perlite,
do.
Nothing else. Just perlite.
Yeah, well, I use bottom heat in the greenhouse, so it helps.
Yeah.
But you could do that, or if you want to do it at home. So that's got a bud there. So if you want to do it at home, there's a bud there, and a bud there. You put this in your garden and you bury it to there.
Oh.
And you leave it all year. This will grow out in the spring at this time, you know, 1 year later. You just dig that up and you'll have a beautiful plant. So you don't need a greenhouse or a mist bin.
And is that with any grape species or just?
Most grapes will root that way, yes. Most grapes. Yeah. Muscadine, not so much. Muscadine, you need to layer like I did over there. But the bunch grapes like Niagara, Concord, you do this all day. You could actually put it in a place where you might want it to grow and never dig it up. You know, just put it in the, yeah. You like that idea too, guys?
Yeah.
Very excited because she's chasing the ball down there.
Oh, she's chasing the ball. Yeah. Did you see how their territory really stays right there when she's here?
Yeah.
Because when she's not here, they're up here.
That's funny.
But they get like, I'm not going up there.
Well, they know who she is.
Yeah.
Come on, Pete.
So right here is the hardy kiwi. This still needs a lot of pruning, but we've been pruning it a lot. I'm not going to keep that because it's going to be out in the middle of the row. And then I want to get a lot more cuttings. So I've got cuttings here, like, again, I can keep that as a spur, and then these I can take into the greenhouse and I can stick that, and there's a cutting. So they're quite easy to propagate. You just have to figure out when you get them in the greenhouse what down and up is, because you don't want to plant them upside down. They'll just not do so well. So the last year's leaf scar is always to the bottom. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And of course, when we do cuttings, we try to keep them all the same way, so it's efficient when we're sticking them and all that. All right.
How old is this?
35, 40, probably 35. Yeah, look at that view. Yeah, this is the Anna Kiwi, the Ananas Nanya. So again, I wanna finish this one up. The lower, a lot of times they'll have lower branching, and I cut that out. See this one here? It's just gonna get shaded. Anything that's starting to go down. So I'll take that out. And there's a bud there, and if it wants to come up and create again, it will. And then I don't want all this crossing, so I'll take that out. This one has kind of died on its own. That one has two. That one's dead. This has gotten away. I'd rather have the spur kind of like parallel to this one. So it's gotten a little out of hand, but I'll cut it like that. I want to get the fruit, but then again, it won't really fruit if it's all in the shade. This is shading. This is going to shade this. Which one do I keep? So I'll probably do something like that, and I'll just keep this one here. This one's coming over to try to incorporate itself, but again, it needs a spur. It needs a spur, so I'm going to cut that there. So that spur there is lower, but it's still in the sunshine. So I feel good about that whole spur. I'll get some fruit off of that. Okay, and then what? This guy is going up here, so he doesn't have any room. So I'll start him over again. He can stay right there. 3-year-old spurs are fairly productive. 2- and 1-year-old spurs are very productive. 4-year-old spurs, not so much. And then the 4-year-old spurs usually get shaded by other growth because you're always creating spurs. You're always doing stuff with them. So, and again, you don't want all this wrapping. We did cut here once. We have something going here, but really there's no space for this. You know, this part anyway, because you've got all this here. So I could do this. I could just cut it here. Or if I want to really keep it, I could have to cut it there. I've got a spur there. Then this became, instead of 4 inches, it became 12 inches, and then they cut it again here and here. So we do have a spur, and that is going to fruit. So maybe this year I'll keep it. Next year I'll probably go right here and get rid of it. So I want the fruit, and so I'll probably keep it. This one here, it grew up. It should have been cut here. Instead, it grew all the way up here and got cut way up here, got cut there and cut there. So it does have a lot of nice spur growth, but it's just too crowded. There's just too much going on there. So it's too busy, and I'll be taking some of that out of there. Anyway, enough said. I think the grapes and the kiwis are kind of similar. So I think we've spent too much time on this. We fruit them pretty easily. So this is a well-pruned, I think a well-pruned, like 30-year-old fuzzy kiwi. This has about 150 to 200 pounds of fruit a year. Yeah, a whole lot more kiwi per capita than most people eat.
Hardy ones are
Petey, do you like kiwi? Do you? Do you? These little stems here where there were kiwis hanging on these stems. And I think Jess helped me with this too, didn't you?
Yeah.
You and Ben picked it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we picked like, about 100 pounds, I think. But then we thought it was gonna frost, but it didn't frost.
Yeah.
So we left them on 3 more weeks, remember? And then we picked the rest of them.
There's a lot of kiwis.
It was the end of November. People
Yeah.
don't remember that November was pretty warm.
Yeah.